2, 1. Welcome inside Under the Microscope video edition. Myself, John Ledyard, and Brandon Thorne with you. Looking at the Washington Redskins offensive line against the Philadelphia Eagles. Brandon, this is one of the more fun cut-ups I think we've looked at because I love ones that kind of dispel narratives that have been going around. And there's a narrative that the Redskins can't run the football, and that's been somewhat true in some phases this season. And there's a narrative that they have poor running backs, and they may not have elite running backs, but these guys are capable of getting the job done. We're going to look at them. We're going to look at how they use their personnel, some tight ends that they can flex and are thought of as wide receiver tight end hybrid types, but are also pretty good blockers and have an inline role and are really effective in their run game. And most importantly, we're going to look at one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, probably one of the most underrated offensive lines in the NFL in the Washington Redskins front five. This is a great group.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, like we were just talking about, I posted this on Twitter as well, probably like the best offensive lines I've watched this year, like Washington, Dallas, of course, Buffalo, but Washington is like in the top three, and a lot of people, I don't, think necessarily think about that. I think, as of late they kind of are, but the whole year, man, really, I mean, Trent Williams has been playing, you could, as far as who I've watched, he's the best left tackle in the NFL this year. Brandon Scherf, man, I mean, year two, he had an incredible game. I mean, he beat Fletcher Cox, I'd say, 75% of the snaps this game, one-on-one a lot of the time. Spencer Long at center he's like kind of the guy who jumped out to me more than probably anybody this game, just because I didn't know a lot about him, but he was outstanding. And then Morgan Moses is solid, and I'm a huge fan of the left guard, Sean. What was it again?
Laval. That's how it's pronounced online. So if he's listening, correct
Sean
us if we're wrong.
Man. He's had some horrific injuries in his career, but he keeps coming back and he keeps playing strong. So this is just a fun game, man. And then Bill Callahan, the offensive line coach, implements pretty much every type of concept that you can think of, from different looks, outside zone, and a bunch of gap scheme stuff. So it's just a diverse, very hard to prepare for running game. And Kirk Cousins played well this game as well. It's probably a function of the running game, but Philly's had a pretty strong defense this year. In Washington, they just ran up and down the field. They had over 200 yards rushing, I believe. So as a team, and yeah, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, outside zone for the first one, and it's fun to see what they do with outside zone. You'll see a lot of that motion. You'll see Vernon Davis here about to go in motion and bring this, I think it's a safety or corner, whoever it is with him, to the opposite side of the field. They like to do that. That's on a couple of these plays, I think.
Yeah, they do a lot of different stuff as far as pre-snap to get guys moving, and we'll see it here. But so they're in 12 personnel. They're motioning Davis, like you said, and they're going to run outside zone, and Matt Jones is the running back. Yeah. So this right here, Trent Williams is probably my favorite guy in the NFL to watch, but this is a big reason why. This is a backside cutoff that he's going to do, where he's basically going to come around instead of in front of the linebacker, and he's going to hit him from behind. It's a beautiful technique. It's a backside cutoff. Some call it slingshot technique. This isn't exactly that, but he's kind of the key here, and Matt Jones is going to cut off him. So just watch him here. So, he realizes he's not going to get, in front of him, and just, that's beautiful.
Yeah, this is actually Rob Kelly running the football right now, not Matt. They look the same.
Oh,
They
yeah,
have long hair, but he's undrafted at Tulane. We were just talking about before we went on. We're like, I don't even know who this guy is, But I mean, yeah, great block by Trent Williams. I love if you go back to the beginning real quick.
Yeah.
They kind of reshuffle their line. I believe it's this one before the motion even happens.
Oh, but
Eagles? If you go back before the motion even happens, yeah. So
right.
See how the defensive line shifts. So now the scoops are I mean, not more difficult necessarily, but I mean, you have to take that hard lateral step. So both guards now are working to, and in this case, I think it's, if you go back just a touch, I'm trying to see who this is. But this one defender here, number 94, I believe it is for the Eagles. I'm not sure who that is, or if that's a 94. But between Scherf and Morgan Moses on the right side of the Redskins offensive line, he's almost lined up in that gap. So that's such a hard scoop for Scherf to be able to make that step. And if you see this guy over here, I think that might be Bo Allen. I can't see for Philadelphia, but he's lined up on that inside shoulder of Laval here. And that is a little bit of an easier scoop, but it's still a pretty tough scoop. And so just the agility of these two guys in their first step to be able to scoop those tougher techniques and get outside to where those players are shaded, especially Scherf's. I just think that's a really hard reach, and he just nails it. I mean, it's a flawless-looking block.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Davis brought that safety corner, whatever he is, over there, and the running back, I think, has the wherewithal to recognize, okay, it's outside zone to the right. However, there is more defenders to that right side, and he makes a really nice cutback here.
Yeah, and we'll just review
simple,
real quick.
It's nice.
Those three reads kind of on an outside zone for the running back that bounce it. You can look to the outside. Again, he knows that there's an extra defender out there, so that's probably the last one he's looking at. The first one, you're kind of looking to bang it up in. He could stretch this maybe a step or two. Maybe he can have success there, but he knows right away that cutback's available to him, and he bends it back. I love his burst and acceleration. He makes a decision. Maybe he could bang it up in there. It looks like Morgan Moses gets a pretty good block, and there's a good hole to his right. But I love that Kelly makes a decision. Even if it's the wrong one, I'm going to do it full speed. And Trent Williams is so good that it's able to get done. I mean, some people would say, oh, Trent Williams is holding here. But no, that's just, like you said, that's that slingshot technique. He's doing it really well here. And Kelly, I love his decisiveness to just get straight north as soon as he sees the hole.
Yeah, like you said, the three different reads for the running back. He's probably made two of the reads before he even touched the ball.
Right.
He probably eliminated that first outside read. Here he's reading the, bang it up more towards the middle of the field. He probably was already saying no. And as soon as he gets the ball completely, he's already made his decision.
Yep. And
Trent Williams blocks two people. So, it was just, and then, he kind of just, is just a runner after that, and he's able to make another guy miss, here at the second level.
And that's what you want. You want to create those opportunities. Trent Williams making that block, obviously, like you said, takes two guys out there because Barwin kind of runs it. He kind of runs interference on Barwin a little bit, who's trying to close down that backside gap. And then you get your running back in space one-on-one against defensive backs, and that's what every team will take at the next level. This is what they'll take, that ability to do that there, and that's a vicious cut, but that's what you want. That's what running backs are getting paid to be able to do. See it get to the second level, then make your move in space. But the offensive line to be able to create that opportunity for him, it's just excellent stuff. There's some hard blocks in there, some really tough blocks in there that were executed.
Yeah, it was. That was, second quarter, that was a 30-plus yard gain. And, the Redskins are rotating three running backs the entire game. For the most part. Matt Jones is getting the bulk, but Thompson and Kelly, they have three guys, so they're always fresh, and they have all these different schemes and concepts that they're running. It's so much fun. So second quarter as well, I believe this is 2 plays later, they're going to run a crack toss. This time Chris Thompson is in. So, their receivers and tight ends are heavily involved in their blocking. So you got Niles Paul, over here, Jameson Crowder, and 14, I'm not sure who that is.
I'll look one second.
But, either way, they're all going to be heavily involved here. They're all just going to crack down.
That's Ryan Grant.
Ryan Grant, okay.
Yeah, like their fifth receiver, so even he's getting involved in the blocking game.
Yeah, and so the reason why I picked this one specifically, just remember crack toss, because they're going to run a variation of the same concept later, and we're going to go over it, and it's going to kind of, build off of this. So they're actually going to run a jet concept into this crack toss later. So this is kind of how they introduced the crack toss, and they executed really well. Let's check it out. Yeah, that's 10-yard gain.
And the cracks from the
So,
receivers are obviously key. I mean, both
yeah,
Grant and Crowder, and Crowder's actually a pretty good blocker. I realized watching this game, or at least he was in this game. I haven't watched him enough to know what the prevailing opinion is on him in that area, but it's a great block.
That's
on
a nice
Bowen.
block.
Yeah, really nice block. I mean, that edge is
Connor
sealed right
Barwin,
away.
isn't it?
And then
Yeah, that's a heck of a block.
giving up a lot of size to Connor Barwin and still earholing him pretty good there.
Yeah, I mean, and the center doesn't even pull. That's pretty cool. His track is interesting. I mean, he's just taken off diagonally. Trent Williams is the puller. So they're pulling Trent Williams and Niles Paul, which is interesting. And then the center is going to work over underneath sort of the linebacker. So that's intricate stuff. I mean, for that to work the way it did, 2 receivers to get their men, and then you got the center, left tackle, and tight end blocking 2. I mean, that's beautiful.
And you see Niles Paul out here, he gets a good piece of the corner. I believe that's Nolan Carroll out there. And you think maybe Thompson could bounce this one to the outside, but he decides to kind of bang it up in there, which isn't a bad decision for sure. He makes a guy miss. I think it's a defensive lineman at that second level. Good hustle by him. But again, I think that's Fletcher Cox. So he makes him miss in space. And like you said, he's able to get 10 out of it. Again, it's a decisive read. You could say maybe he tries to bounce it, but really Nolan Carroll, as much as Niles Paul's trying to get outside of him, he's still got outside leverage. And that's, I think, where he's reading. And so from that point, he thinks, Carroll's still outside. Yep. He seemed to be pushing him that way. So I'm going to slice this inside and see what I can get out of it.
And I think Spencer Long was expecting him to go outside.
I think he was too, yeah. And I think
because he's already, yeah. But still, I mean, give credit to Nolan Carroll. I think you said, or is that Malcolm Jenkins up there?
That's Carroll.
Carroll, yeah. I mean, that was a nice job to keep outside leverage and force it inside, because that could have been another 20 yards, possibly.
Right. And if Thompson decides to bounce it, it's probably just a foot race. So, he makes a decision, I'm going to bang it in and see what I can get. And it's not really Niles Paul's fault. That's a pretty difficult block to have, and you leave the inside option open to him too. But it's just, I mean, even if you go back to the beginning of it, I think it's Sean Laval's block here is, to keep any run through from happening, to that play side is crucial. I mean, that's a great first step, a terrific first step. And we talk about a lot of different traits that offensive linemen have to have. And athleticism certainly is one of them, and that helps. But Laval's not known as an elite athlete. And like you said, he's had some bad injuries. So this is repetition, practice, footwork more than anything else, I think, is just getting that split-second timing when you hear the snap count, boom, you're exploding out of your stance, over and over and over and over and over again. More than it is, he's an elite athlete or anything like that. Because in his case, in Trent Williams' case, certainly that's true, especially for his size. Laval, that as far as I know, that's never been his calling card. He's more toughness and technicality, footwork, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, people, I think some people may have a misconception of offensive linemen getting out of their stance quickly, and they correlate that to athleticism, but it's really not at all. It's about technique. It's about the drive catch phase. So his right foot exploding, driving, basically putting force into the ground with that right foot, the more violently and deliberately you do that, the better your explosion to the left side is going to be. I mean, it doesn't really have anything to do with athleticism, to your point. He's just very technically sound. And just this little fast forward right here. Brandon Scherf, the left guard, are the first 2 guys moving on this play. And, I mean, that's outstanding. Morgan Moses hasn't even moved. So they're already ahead of the game, like you said. I mean, Scherf and him have outstanding jumps on this ball.
Right.
Scherf misses the cut, but still, I mean, that's really nice. And
got
typically
a little piece of him, right?
Yeah, he did just a little bit there.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but really on the backside, the biggest thing is hold those guys up to stop any run through, right? I mean, you don't want Fletcher
you don't want
penetration
penetration
and chasing Thompson down from behind.
Right, penetration will kill you, and it's a good way to prevent penetration. Take out a guy's knees. That'll stop most
Even
people.
If you just slow him down a step. And Morgan Moses' technique, I mean, hey, listen, you got to do what you got to do sometimes, right? He doesn't hold him, he doesn't hang on, just a little wrap and let go. Slowed him down a
Yeah,
bit.
that's savvy.
That's right, exactly. And that's
Yeah,
what we always,
that's
when
what
I
that
say to
is.
my offensive lineman, I'm like, there's holding on just about every play, man. Like, you got to be smart about how you do it. You got to know when you can hook guys backside, officials looking play side, get away with a little bit of something just to slow him down. And he didn't, to his credit, he didn't draw it out or anything like that. It's just, like you said, it's a savvy play from a young guy. I think it's his second or third season now.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I really love what the center does here. I mean, just to get through all the trash and then to come out. I mean, he's leading the way. He's busting it, and he's gonna get that guy, whoever this player is right here. If Thompson were to bounce it out, so he's in great position. It's just just the concept and then the execution were outstanding. It gave him 10 yards, 2 plays after a 35-yard gain on the ground. So.
And one of the things you talk about the
experience.
concept of the play, and one of the things that's creative about the concept of the play, and you'll see this again, we've talked about in the first play a little bit, is that the Redskins can come out in any personnel and run out of it because the receivers and their tight ends can block and obviously be effective in the passing game. I mean, like I said, with the tight ends, they have those wide receiver tight end hybrid guys. So their personnel, and we talk about this almost every time, but if you have personnel that allow you to create mismatches on the field, if you're bringing tight ends onto the field and keeping them in line, then flexing them out wide, defenses have to respond and match up with you personnel-wise. If they decide to match you in the passing game, you're going to have more defensive backs on the field. That's an ideal formula to be able to run the football out of, and you don't lose much blocking because your tight ends are good blocking, so bring them in line. Start them out in line. They bring linebackers in, flex them out wide. Now you've got linebackers on of really athletic tight ends whose athleticism could be comparable to receivers and size comparable to receivers. So you create mismatches all over the field when you've got personnel like that. They've got 3 of them in Jordan Reed, Vernon Davis, and now it's Paul now. So it allows them to be able to be very creative offensively. And I think Jay Gruden's done a great job with that crew.
Definitely. Jay Gruden, offensive coordinator and offensive line coach Bill Callahan.
Right.
Callahan was the guy who really started the Dallas offensive line. I mean, he was there, I believe, 2012 to 2014. And that's when they were starting to get that reputation. He's the one who got a hold of Tyron Smith, Travis Frederick, Zach Martin when they were young. And he's maybe the best offensive line coach in the game. And he's doing the same thing here now.
Right.
Slowly but surely they're building. And it's just a lot of fun. So this second quarter as well, 14-14. This is a good game, but when you have this style of offense, the second half is really where it's going to start wearing on people because they're already, they're kind of just manhandling the Eagles a little bit so far, and we'll see in the second half later what that does. But we got another outside zone here, and let's check it out. Oh my, Spencer Long.
Now this is Matt
an
Jones.
Outstanding play.
Spencer Long, absolutely phenomenal block. And this is Matt Jones. So this is the third running back we've seen in 3 plays, okay? And all 3 of them have made good, tough reads, good reads, decisive reads, and gotten vertical. This is the best by a running back, I think, because the crease is so small. But because Barwin's in this wide 9 out here, it almost takes away the bouncing option again before it even starts a little bit. So he's thinking, bang it inside or bend it back. You can see the collection backside, and as we run through it, you'll be able to see that isn't a good option either. There's only a small crease to bang it in, but he fits through there without losing speed. It's a great run.
Yeah, definitely. So this first replay will just really focus on what you just said with the running back and then Spencer Long getting this reach block. He busts his butt and he hooks him. This is beautiful. Just that jump.
That guy's head up on the guard.
Yeah, he already has won it here. And so the defensive line now is going to fight him. And that's just outstanding use of his hands to create leverage. And this position right here, wow, that's just. And then, that crease can't get any smaller.
Right. And you can say, this defensive lineman, I think that might be Bo Allen. He does a great job of trying to recover and compress that hole as much as he can.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of backs would look at how small that crease is, and because Bo Allen's done a good job of fighting through that and trying to minimize that hole. A lot of backs would look at that and they would try and bounce it, and you would say, well, Bo Allen, he got beat on initially, but then he did his job. But Long keeps fighting and he hangs in there, and the front side does a great job with their blocks, Laval and Trent Williams. And give Matt Jones credit because he didn't hesitate, man. If you hesitate for a second here, you might be done because the hole doesn't last very long. But Long fights just long enough to keep it there, and it has to be perfect timing with the way that Bo Allen fights back, and he does have a little bit of leverage there maybe after Spencer Long wins the initial block, but again, just to be able to get there for Spencer Long is crazy on this play.
Yeah, it really is. And watch Brandon Scherf here too. I mean, you could see in this shot right here, he again has the best jump on the ball of anybody on the offensive line. He's already into his first step before anybody else has really moved. And he's going to hook this linebacker and run with him and basically seal the backside and allow this whole play to happen. So Scherf, again, is outstanding here.
Yeah,
and
Jameson nice. Crowder down the field, right? Blocking again, taking a corner. I mean, he's fighting through him this whole way.
Yeah, man, when receivers block, man, the running game just goes to another level. Really does.
There's so many good things happening there on the offensive line, but that cut by Matt, that is one heck of a run, man. Like, that's elite vision right there. And I'm not saying it's I haven't watched him enough this year. I liked him coming out of Florida. He's gotten a tough rap after a pretty solid rookie season as the number 2 guy in Washington. And I know they haven't run the football on a high level all year, but that's a great run.
Yeah, that bad rap is unwarranted. Me and you have been talking about this a lot lately. You know, people just jump into conclusions so quick, man. I mean, he's still so young, you know, and people, you know, want to put labels on him, man. Right. You know, it's just kind of give him some time. And in this scheme, I mean, he's going to be pretty dangerous, you know, and it's nice because they're keeping him fresh, you know.
Exactly.
And yeah, that's a recipe for success, certainly, as the year goes on. So I mentioned earlier they ran crack toss. So here they're going to run crack toss jet. And this is just amazing. All the stuff that's going on here, you're going to have a receiver motion to the opposite side of the run. You're going to have crack blocks by receivers and tight ends. You're going to have pullers. I mean, this is just complex stuff. You know, this is like Harvard level offensive line stuff right here. You know, it gets me excited if you haven't noticed. All right. So
your voice is shaking.
This is fun. All right. Let's see it. So yeah, a lot going on there. I mean, that's Niles Paul again with doing just a really nice job. Niles Paul is on the far left side.
84.
Yeah, and, you know, it's nice that, Kirk Cousins right here, that ball handling is pretty sweet.
And I'll be honest, nice. That's actually a really nice job by him. And I'll be honest, and if the freeze is one of the backers here, that might be Nigel Bradham backside. But he's looking at the jet, and that's probably his, but see him hesitate there and stop. So right away, you've cut off, and you've frozen both backers pretty much. And you've probably, at that point, Bradham's really going to have to bust his tail. His best chance of contributing to the play, just because he has to respect the jet, you've frozen him. Now his best chance of contributing to the play is probably down the field somewhere. So right now you've eliminated a front 7 defender, which is obviously the ideal situation. And Vernon Davis cut back on block on the box backside is a good one on Brandon Graham as well. He doesn't really see it coming, and he gets folded up by it.
Speaking of folding up, I wanted to mention this. There's a fold block right here as well between the right guard and the right tackle.
I was just about to say that.
I mean, this is just this is probably the most complex block, you know, that I've seen this entire year. I can't think of another wrinkle to add here. I mean, you run a fold block on the backside that's basically meaningless, but it's still pretty and it's executed well. Brandon Scherf's going to block angle drive block, that 3-tech. Or 4-eye, whatever you want to call it, and then Morgan Moses is just going to work around him to the backer.
You know more than I. Why would you use the fold there? Is it because in case that linebacker's reading the guard, you kind of give him another read to that direction with the jet coming that way? Is that why why would
I
you fold there? Is there any reason that you could
I
think of?
think that would be the reason. Yeah, I mean, just to exactly what you said. Um, and if nothing else, it's just it's pretty and it just
And I
makes
guess it's
me more
probably an
excited.
easier way. It's easier way to block that three technique or whoever that or that in that gap, that 3 eye,
I think
whatever it is.
so.
It's probably the best
Yeah,
way to eliminate him from the play.
yeah. I think that was kind of the critical aspect of the backside there. To ensure that there was no penetration.
Right. And then, I mean, Trent Williams throws a guy out of the club here. We haven't even talked about the pullers yet. I mean, Spencer Long's
Yeah,
got
no,
another tough reach, another ridiculous
yeah,
reach. Just head up on the guard again. He's got to be able to reach. And look at him. Just
yeah.
continue to run your
Great
feet.
job.
It's beautiful.
Him and Niles Paul. I mean, getting those two guys. Lavo working back. I mean,
Right.
just that awareness right there to stop.
Oh, my gosh.
Steal.
So,
Trent Williams, of course, is gonna, like you said.
I mean, I think it's Jamison or Pierre Garcon. It is falls off his block a little bit. It's tough to stay on that one when
Yeah.
you're moving laterally. But even going back to Niles Paul, I wanted to mention I did not know that he was a very good blocker or that he was used heavily that way, and maybe he isn't. I think Jordan Reed might have been hurting this guy. I think he's concussed, so maybe he's stepping up
Yeah.
into that role. But A, next man up philosophy, totally in effect here. B, you don't have to be. You stay on a guy. Here he gets the first initial step, gets the seal. Then he could easily lose control. Just keep your hands on him and keep running him. Keep contact. Becomes really
That's a
hard for him to
great
get off
block,
that block.
man. That's a really good block by a tight end.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really nice.
And Trent Williams on a corner in space. Yep. Son, you're getting gripped up.
I mean, I'll play it regular. Look at Trent Williams run, man. I mean, this guy looks like a tight end, except he's 340 pounds. Look at that.
I mean,
He looks like a deer.
it's an effortless stride. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, man, that type of stuff right there is special. I mean, so another 11-yard gain. They're just, this is, this right here is, what they call a G lead. Basically, the guard is going to be the only puller on the field. So the left guard here is going to pull, and you're going to have a bunch of down blocks on the front side. And we'll see what happens and analyze it. But this is another power gap scheme concept mixed in with their zone looks. Again, getting that defender away from the front side where you're running. That's Malcolm Jenkins. That's a good player to get away. You got another huge game.
And I think, unless I'm trying to look at numbers here, but I think there's an extra offensive lineman in there for Washington. And where the tight end would be to the play side there.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, they went heavy.
Yeah, heavy. I think it's
79. Yeah.
79.
Yeah, so they
Ty Niski, I believe it is. I can't see that
maybe,
number
yeah.
for
So
sure,
they
but
went heavy for sure.
right. And then they kind of seal that up. And again, is that 53?
Spencer Long, man. Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, Bradham gets good run upfield, but again, just take him the direction they're going, get him out of the play. He gets off the ball really well. But on that,
He's going to beat the puller.
Right, he beats the puller up the field. But hey, if he didn't wrong arm it, so just take him the direction they're going. You know what I mean? He allows himself to get trapped kind of by flying up there. And this is probably Jordan Hicks' play to make. We should mention that. It's a great cut by, I believe that's Matt Jones again. Jordan Hicks probably is the free guy to be able to make this stop, and he overruns it. So he's probably got a breakdown there. Bradham's keeping outside contained there, so you can't blame him too much. He's trying to be that edge defender there, and Hicks just can't recover from those couple false steps he made. So if we're looking at the full picture here as defenders, that's probably where the error happens there. Where Matt Jones and I believe that's now Paul lead blocking in the backfield, I think. So they really use him all over. It's crazy.
Yeah, they do.
But they kind of,
the key block here is Spencer Long, though. I mean, he seals the backside here. Again, he fits through this trash. He gets through there and makes just a heck of a block, man.
And this is news to me on Spencer Long, honestly. And I think you and I were talking about
Me too.
I didn't know he was this, capable. I mean, I had them, when I was talking about draft stuff, I had them looking at, Kelly from Alabama, and I was like, this is a guy they should look at. This is a guy they should target. He's a great player, great fit. It would be the last piece on that O-line. Now I watch Spencer Long, and, why were they going with Corey Lichtensteiger? I'll tell you, Spencer Long's pretty good.
Right. Definitely. So, we could watch in kind of regular motion again. He's just going to get out to the second level and seal Michael Kendricks, who's in pursuit from the backside. Just the fit. So to get through there, the fit, the hand usage, and then just to out leverage him, and that seal right there did it. I mean, after Hicks overran it, Kendricks easily could have made that play.
Right.
And then, Jones gets another huge gain. This is at the very end of the game. I think this is like a 60-yard run, close to it.
And this isn't a key block on it necessarily, but just Scherf to be able to get to the I believe it's a head up nose. I mean,
yeah, Long gives him a little help with like he should, and
right.
Scherf gets there, and
that support punch. But you still, you have to bust your tail if you're getting a head up technique that's a gap away from you. I mean that's just a very, that's as hard as it gets. You're not going to reach anybody further than that. Let's put it that way.
Scherf is consistently the first one off the ball.
Right.
I'm just going to fast forward it. I always do this when I watch offensive line, just frame by frame by frame. I'll just watch plays, and then that's when you can really, get the nuance of everything that's going on. Watch his left hand. Right there. He's coming out of his stance.
Everybody else
nobody else has moved.
Right.
He's that right there, man. I loved Scherf in college, and
yeah, me too.
But him, he went from left tackle to right guard, and he's only in year 2, and he's already. He's approaching that top level status of right guards in the league.
Right. So this was fun stuff. This is a great group for the Redskins. It's a fun group to break down. Because you have your high pedigree guys like Williams and Scherf, who are obviously elite. Williams still elite, even though he's getting up there in years. Like you said, might be playing the best football of any left tackle in the game. Then you have some guys, some workman-like guys. Sean Laval has been injured. He's bounced around a couple spots. He's been a guy that people thought, I can replace him. His technique, his toughness, his smarts, they've kept him in it. That continues to manifest itself in Washington. Spencer Long, a guy we were saying, I didn't even, if I would have just listed, looked at centers, I would have thought he's a bottom, guy in the league at the position. And you're seeing him right. We didn't even look at Morgan Moses that much. I think he's probably better in the run game than he is in pass protection, but he's another guy who has been on the rise for Washington. He was backside a lot in this game, or in these plays that we highlighted, but he's another guy that's good. And then how they use their tight ends in the run game, the backs, the 3 different backs, all making good reads, tough reads at times, especially Matt Jones. It was just a fun game to dissect, I think, because this is a unit. If you would have said we're going to dissect the Redskins' run game, at the beginning of the year, everybody's saying they can't run the football. So, now they do it against one of the best defensive fronts in football, and, maybe the tune changes a little bit.
Yeah, and just to talk about Trent Williams a little bit, so this is crazy about him. He just turned 28.
Wow.
Trent Williams is in the prime of his career, like in the early stages almost of his prime. Joe Thomas is, I forgot how old Joe is, but he's well into his 30s, I think.
So Trent was young when he came into the league.
Yeah, Trent just turned 28.
Because this is like his 7th or 8th year. That's crazy.
He came in 2010. So this is his 6th year.
So we might be seeing vintage
another
Trent
6
Williams
years of this.
Another 6 years. Another 6 years of squaring up DVs one-on-one in space and throwing them on their own sideline.
Dude, he ran a 4.8 coming out at 315 pounds. I think the official time I'm looking at right now, 4.88. I thought it was a 4.81, but either way, this guy, he is, maybe the best athlete in the NFL at his position. Jason Peters used to be right there, even though, Jason Peters is older. He's like 33, 34, but that's kind of the
He's that
track
back.
that Williams is on. I mean, he's 28, man, freshly 28 just this July. So, and they just signed him to a monster deal last offseason. They gave him, man, I'm looking at 5 years, 66 million, 43 guaranteed. So he's locked up, and they got Scherf locked up. So just those two right there. I mean, and then Moses, I think he's only year 2 or 3 on his deal. So, yeah, man. I mean, this offensive line is just getting started, I think, and with all these young running backs, it's going to be fun, kind of watching them the rest of the year and see if they can keep it up. It's kind of cool that maybe the two best offensive lines in the league are in the same division.
Right.
So, the NFC East is, I think, a lot more fun than most people expected.
Oh, yeah. Matt Williamson and I were just talking about that on the podcast the other day about how fun the NFC East has turned out to be. And even the Redskins, or even the Eagles, if Lane Johnson's out there, for them, whenever
Definitely.
he gets back, that's another one that's, a great offensive line across the league. So
I like the Giants. I mean, the Giants got Richburg and Pugh.
Right.
Those two guys are very good.
Very
so
tough.
they're struggling right now, obviously as a whole, but still, yeah, there's good line play in the NFC East.
Absolutely. Fun one looking at an NFC East battle, talking about what Washington did so well to be able to dominate in the run game against a good Eagles front defensively. It's been fun, Brandon. We got more coming up next week. We'll have another poll out for you guys. Or maybe we might do – we've been talking about just doing the Bills because they're playing great. They're playing great football. They won 4 straight games, mainly because they can run the football at an elite level. So that we may have to just, kind of skip the poll and jump on the Bills here if people aren't going to. This poll was great, by the way. This poll was super close. You guys did a great job voting for it. It was fun to see that there were that much interest out there from every fan.
Came down to the last minute, literally.
It really did, yeah. It was like tied.
Cool.
Brandon's texting me with like 5 minutes left. He's like, dude, it's tied. I don't know what we're going to do. So it was crazy.
That was fun.
Yeah, definitely.
This is good, man.
Awesome. So thanks so much for listening, guys. Under the Microscopes, the video editions, offensive line, defensive line play, and looking at run concepts and even other stuff outside of that, stretching to blocking schemes and to tight ends and personnel usage and wide receiver cracks and running back reads and all kinds of stuff like that. Always fun breaking this stuff down for you guys. If you have any questions or want to see anything added or us do anything different, let us know. As always, we're always interested to hear what you guys think of the recordings that we do and of the videos we do. So definitely give us feedback as you see fit. But until next time, as for Brandon and John, thanks so much for listening, guys.